Hello, everybody. Hey, my name is Prophetess Pam King Finkley. I am the Chancellor of the Shamar Global University, LLC, where we believe that God not only wants prophets that are anointed, but prophets that are proficient, polished, and prophets that are professional. If you feel called and believe you're called to the prophetic ministry or as a prophet of God, we encourage you, go to our website, shamarglobal.org, learn about our school, learn about our university, read our blog, see some of the future classes that we have in store for you. And hey, leave us a comment, let us know some things that you're interested in that you would like to see. Thank you so much for coming on today and for being with me. Well, today I'm going to be talking about, you saw my title, Growing from a New Normal to a New Future to a New Greater Glory. I did a video that talked about, in that video, let me see if I can pull it up here. In the video, I'm sorry, I actually took it down, so now I have to bring it back up again. So we're bringing it back up again here. And so the video is called God's Grace for a New Normal. So this is almost like a part two, you could say. And I will be providing the link to that video in at the bottom of this page, not the bottom of this page, but below this videotape. There will be a link. You can check that link out and just see what God gave me for how we're supposed to act in this new normal. What is God saying to us? Well, I'm continuing on from this. I believe that God has given me some more things concerning this COVID-19 that we're in, and I've done some research. And so I just wanted to share with you all about growing from a new normal, because remember the last video I did regarding COVID was dealing with a new normal, learning and accepting that new normal. Now we're talking about a new future, and then we're talking about a new greater glory. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on now. You all see I have my mask on. I am ready. I have my hand sanitizer. You all, I am socially distant. There's no one in this room but me. But since I'm the only one here, I don't have to wear my mask and worry about this for right now. Let's talk a little bit about this coronavirus and what does that mean for us today? What does it mean for us today? COVID-19 or coronavirus was reported to the World Health Organization, WHO, the WHO, in December 2019, hence the number 19. I remember, where did they get the number 19 from? And then as I did study, it was because that's when the virus was reported. It was reported in 2019. So they're calling it 19. I said, okay, well, that makes sense. That's easy to remember. And this virus has changed the world and reshaped history. The world lies in quarantine and living in a pandemic. As of July 6, 2020, the WHO it's been reported that there's been over 11 million confirmed coronavirus cases all throughout the world. 11 million, over 11 million, and over 500,000 deaths have occurred. Over 500,000 deaths have occurred. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Schools and businesses have shut down. Many have lost jobs and are forced to work at home. I know my husband is the first few months of this, he was at home. About the first 2 months, he had to work from home. And then they went to teams, team A, team B. If team A goes, team B stays at home. Team B goes, team A stays at home. They did it like that because they were trying to keep everyone from, from being together, too many, large crowds. They were trying to prevent that. And then that didn't seem to be working. And then they brought everybody back in. And then all of a sudden, Corona cases started coming up, and they had to go back to Team A, Team B again. So they had to do that. And so now, uh, let's look at how it's impacted even our schools. Formal school graduations and weddings have been canceled. Some people, they just weren't able to get married. Some, I thought it was so cute. People would have, they would rent out a chapel, a church. They would put pictures of people on the benches, and I thought it was so cute that, hey, the people that would have been here, we're going to put their pictures on the pews. And I mean, I thought it was so great. And these people had a cute little wedding. I mean, they were determined, we're going to get married. Love's going to prevail, and it did. They got married, and it was beautiful. Formal school graduations, a lot of those were canceled. Schools, like I said, when I'm talking about back in March, April, May timeframe, the schools were saying we're canceling graduation because school was canceled. I mean, school canceled in March, and I mean, this was like, wow, like this is really serious. I remember when Corona first came out, I really did not think it was that serious. I'm being real. I mean, when it came out in March, I heard about it, and I was like, well, I'm going to get too further on. I don't want to, get too far ahead of myself. But in March 2020, people were required social distancing. Well, let me get back here. Formal school graduations, and what I'm reading from is I'm reading from my blog. You can go to my website and read this article. Sign up for our website, sign up for our blog so that you can get these um, blogs as I post them. Formal school graduations, weddings have been canceled, replaced with scaled down versions. Most doors of the church are closed. A lot of churches are not having services, especially if you have, churches that have large congregations, because we don't know who has the virus. Many times a person can have the virus and there is no symptoms. There's no symptoms. So, and they don't even know. So a lot of churches are closed. They're having services online. A lot of people are using social media, Facebook. Zoom is being used quite a bit for, to keep that connection between the saints, as well as, keeping that fellowship. Okay. Or services are scaled down meetings. I know our church just opened up a few weeks ago. I just went back the first Sunday in July, and we are socially distant. While in church, we have our masks on, and when we come in, our temperature is taken, we wear our mask, and we get hand sanitizer. And then we make sure that we're sitting 6 feet apart from each other. Our congregation right now is a smaller one, so we're able to do that. So we're in code at our church. And so, but a lot of churches, like I said, they're either closed down, they're online, scaled down meetings on the, some people are having church services on the church grounds. What do I mean by that? People are meeting they're staying in their cars and having church services while they're in their cars. Some people are having it on the ground. People just, I mean, it's just different ways that people are doing it. On March 11, 2020, the WHO declared COVID-19 an official pandemic. This is an official pandemic. Also, March 2020, people were required to social distance of 6 feet apart, wearing face masks, and gloves were mandatory. The shelter-in-place policy was the standard government legal requirement for all the states. The shelter-in-place policy is typically activated by local officials during or immediately after an emergency, such as a mass shooting, chemical spill, or natural disaster. So if a shelter in place policy is activated, you know that there's something very serious going on, very serious going on. People were legally required to stay in their homes, stay at home, hashtag stay at home, limit their traveling to only essential places like grocery shopping, going to the bank, medical care, clinics, hospitals. I mean, that was it. All non-essential businesses were shut down. So of course, what does that do to the economy? Pulls it down because people are not spending money because people are not out. Many businesses, what happened? Many businesses went out of business, bellied up because there was no income, so they could not stay in business. So the economy just went down. Some shelter in place orders made provisions and allowed residents to walk or exercise outside in public spaces. You could still go out as long as you were 6 feet away. You could do it. Attendance to social events was only limited to 10 or less people. So once again, that's why you saw the weddings, scaled down versions. Most time the weddings was just the bride, the groom, and the minister. That was it. You know, maybe a few people. Even funerals, you couldn't have more than 10 people at a funeral. And and anyway, I won't get into that. But so the world is going through what? Fear, stress, uncertainty at an all-time high. We have questions. We wonder, is there a vaccine in sight? When does this all end? So this is our new normal, you all. The masks are our new normal. The mask. Trying to make sure I've got everything covered. Uh, that hand sanitizer. You go out, they tell you when you come back, you know, hey, if you're out, you got, you got to use this. You know, constantly got to, if you're going out in other places, things like that. So this is a new normal. Hashtag stay home. In May 2020, the coronavirus plateaued. Everything kind of got stable or it even dropped. Government and state officials said we're lifting bans, restrictions, limitations. You don't face masks are covering. Hey, it is no longer mandatory. It's optional. People can go wherever they want to go. And this is 2 months later. People can now make their own individual choices of precautions they want to take. They were still stressing, wear the mask, social distance, wash your hands, use your, but it was not being pushed. It wasn't mandatory. Now we could go everywhere. We can go to restaurants, we go to beaches, we could go to large public demonstrations, and there's been a lot you all know in the last few months. We've had the Black Lives Matter protests, and that's been just about all over, just about almost in every nation. We have had Black Lives Matter large protests. I know we've had several out here. My husband said just yesterday there was someone that was standing on a corner, saying Black Lives Matter. So we've had that. Church services are now open. There's no restriction on how many people can come in your church, and fellowship in your churches. But within our denomination, Church of God in Christ, our bishop has asked us to make sure we're following CDC guidelines. And so we are following those guidelines because he's concerned about our safety. Once again, we're following CDC safety guidelines in our church, and plus our bishop has asked us to do that. So now, however, since all these restrictions have lifted, what's going on? Now, many states and nations are experiencing an uptick in coronaviruses. Hey, we don't need these masks anymore. Don't worry about don't worry about hand sanitizer. Don't worry, we can be together. So now what's going on? An uptick in coronaviruses. So this leads to a big question. Remember the new normal, masks, social distancing, and now we're like, forget that new normal. We are in our old normal, We're back there. But now what's happening? There's an uptick in what? Coronaviruses. Coronaviruses. So this leads to a big question. Are we opening up too soon to the general public? Is this everyone do what you feel is right standard, moving the world into a second wave of the virus? It seems that the desire to get the economy booming again, to eliminate people's boredom and tiredness with staying more at home, is pushing officials to open things up again. Dale Smith states that some health experts have warned that the lack of a reunified reopening plan might help spread the coronavirus and could actually fuel a second wave as people travel from the hardest hit areas to places with far fewer infections. Because when we lifted all these bans, so now places that there weren't that many infections, but people from coming from cities or states or areas where the infection level was very high, they're coming to those places where it was few. And so now what's happening? The virus is continuing to spread. And he said there is no unified reopening plan because every state was opening as they, felt led, or, people were kind of doing what they wanted to do. There was no unity in how the states would open up their, and how leaders, governmental leaders would open up their states, their cities. There was really no unity. It was pretty much those governors, those mayors, they did as they felt, they needed to do. Since restrictions have lifted, people are growing more complacent about wearing face masks and social distancing. Mayor Eric Johnson of Dallas says, I'm concerned about it, noting that after months of warning and isolation, many residents have stopped wearing masks and maintaining social distance out of sheer fatigue. Sheer fatigue. They have been asked for quite some time to not be around people they love and that they want to spend time with. Wearing a mask, you all, is not pleasant. I mean, I could wear this mask, but then after a while, I'm being real, it gets hot. It gets very hot after a while. But we know it's for our protection. Wearing a mask, this was the mayor of Dallas. Mayor Eric Johnson of Dallas says here, many residents, they stopped wearing masks, maintaining social distancing out of sheer fatigue. They've been asked for quite some time not to be around people they love and that they want to spend time with. Wearing a mask is not pleasant. He said, I think people are just tired. They're tired. Also, I was reading about there's this group. I shouldn't say it's group, but it's people to show a further blatant disregard for the seriousness of the virus. People are now hosting COVID-19 parties. Really? Well, this is how it goes. People attend a party where people are invited to a party, and there are those there that are infected with the virus, and they come together, they meet together, and the first person to be medically declared positive with the coronavirus after the party will receive a payout from the ticket sales. This is truly sick. It's a slap in the face to those who are grieving and disrespectful to those that are helping people to get well. All the frontliners, people who are sacrificing their lives. You're going to have a party to make people sick. People are grieving, hurting because some have lost family members, not just one person, but they have lost several family members, several friends. And now, and you all are having a party. God help us. God help us today. Larger social gatherings of hundreds of thousands are now being allowed. On June 20th, 2020, amidst the pandemic, President Trump held a presidential rally here in Tulsa at the BOK Conference Center, which holds over 19,000 people. More than 20,000 were expected, but only 6,200 people showed up inside the BOK. There were several safety measures taken, such as masks were issued, there were temperature checks, hand sanitizers given. The attendees had to sign a waiver if they contracted the virus while they were there. They would not hold the campaign or the venue liable. President Trump wore no mask. None of the attendees were even required to wear masks. Many discarded the masks they were given and didn't wear any type of facial coverings whatsoever. A few days later, two members of President Trump's staff who were in attendance at the Tulsa rally, they tested positive for COVID-19. As a matter of fact, I was just listening to the news last night. They were saying that there has been such a great uptick in coronaviruses in Tulsa, and they say they believe it's directly related to that rally, as well as the fact that we've had several protests with large amounts of people, hundreds, and we know that at this rally there were thousands. So there's been thousands that's been gathering together. And so, matter of fact, I was listening to one young man. I don't know if he was talking, but I remember hearing about, I believe he was either a football or basketball player that went to one of the rallies. He came back, and not the rally, but went to a protest, and he came back positive with corona. In June 2020, many states of the Sun Belt, such as Florida, Texas, Arizona, South Carolina, they've seen a huge upswing in the number of coronavirus cases. Government officials are now partially shutting down these states for the second time with minor restrictions. Some of it is limiting how many people can come into a bar, or maybe even shutting the bar down. Some businesses are actually imposing their own restrictions because they realize that this is a serious virus. This is really our new normal, whether we want to accept it or not. Doesn't mean that we're going to stay in this forever, but this is our new normal. And so they had to they had to shut down these states, but it was minor, it was small restrictions. But Texas got more restrictions, as masks are now mandatory. And in some counties, venues are only limited to 10 people. So Texas got even harder hit with the virus, and the government officials said, hey, everyone, masks are mandatory. Where those other states, they didn't make the masks mandatory, but they started making venues smaller. Venues had to be smaller. On July 1st, 2020, the WHO said for the past week, the number of new cases has exceeded 160,000 on every single day. People at risk for the coronavirus was originally thought to be older people, 70 plus, with underlying medical conditions. But now all people are susceptible. Even young people aged 20 to 40 years old are rapidly contracting the virus. The youngest victim who died because of COVID-19 was an 11-year-old boy of Miami-Dade, Florida. I remember, once again, when this first came out, I didn't take it serious. I just thought it was, just good information. Thought it was maybe a little hype in it, But as I began to listen and hear, and these restrictions start coming, I said, my goodness, this is real. This is real. We started hearing about the thousands of people dying and on respirators and breathing machines. And I'm saying, my goodness, this was real. This was real. And I, like I said, when I heard, 70 plus, well, that's for the older people. You know how you think, I mean, I'm not a young woman, but I'm not, I'm not in my 70s either, far away from that, at least right now anyway. The Lord bless me one day, but right now we're not trying to be up there yet. We got a little bit, we got some decades before we get up there. Well, not decades, but, well, we got some time before we get up there. The uptick in coronaviruses brings leaders in many states to a new crossroads. Uh-oh. You know how you get to that fork in the road? There's three things it says. It says, should they, A, just accept the continued rise in infections as an expected cost of reopening their economies? B, should they consider slowing the lifting of restrictions and bans aimed at stopping the spread? Or C, impose a new set of limits? Government officials, you all, are under so much stress because they're trying to figure out what is best for our state, for our city, for our community. And they have to ask those questions. They have to ask these questions. How do we do this thing? Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez said, I have been seeing too many businesses and people ignoring these life-saving rules on face covering, social distancing. If people are not going to be responsible and protect themselves and others from the pandemic, then the government is forced to step in and restore common sense to save lives. If people won't be responsible to wear the mask, do the social distancing, he said the government's going to come in. Why? Because this is our new normal, whether we like it or not. The government is forced to step in and restore common sense to save lives. This is our new normal, you all. I want you to leave a comment below. Why do you think people don't like to wear masks? Why is it that people don't like to be socially distant? Why is there such a rebellion in that? Once again, I will, under this video, I will put this blog there where you'll be able to click and read. And I'm just reading from an article that I wrote myself. And that article is entitled, Growing from a New Normal to a New Future, to a New Greater Glory. The last video I did was God's Grace for a New Normal, COVID-19. God's grace for a new normal. But now we're talking about growing from a new normal to a new future, to a greater glory. This is video number 1. And join me on the second video. And we're going to talk, get my words together. We are going to talk about, is there a bomb in Gilead? Is there a bomb in Gilead? We're going to talk about, now we've talked about the new normal. Now we're going to move into the new future. We're going to talk about the new future. Join me on my second video. Leave a comment below. Why is it so hard for people to wear masks? Why is it so hard for people to social distance? Why is it so hard for people to hashtag stay home? Why is that? And what is God saying about how we're doing things, how we're handling things? Looking forward to hearing from you. Follow me on my, connect with my next video, part 2 of growing from a new normal to a new future, to a new greater glory. God bless you.